Hello and welcome to More of This. We take a look now at this. Be wary of economic growth. Politicians are always talking about how they're going to boost economic growth, and that this is supposedly the thing that we all want and need. Economic growth usually means an increase in GDP, the gross domestic product, a measure of the total monetary value of all the goods and services produced by the economy per year. It's the total amount spent on goods and services produced by the economy, and so also the total amount earned by the economy and those in it. The idea is that the higher GDP means that we are earning more, which means we are richer, which means we have a higher standard of living. There are, however, problems with GDP growth. Income distribution is highly inequitable, and GDP figures can hide this. A growth figure might make it look like we're all richer, but actually real wages for most people have declined, while the already rich have become richer. Economic growth doesn't imply this is necessarily so, but when it is so, as it is in most countries today, the figures can be misleading. So, if we need growth, we need the right kind of growth. Quality is important, not just quantity. We already have enough wealth to feed the world. The problem is one of distribution. Does the world need to keep producing more and more wealth when we already have enough? Growth focuses on a very materialist conception of standard of living, because it only includes things which can be bought and sold on the market economy. It says nothing about cohesive communities, levels of crime and antisocial behaviour, sense of belonging and purpose, fulfilling work, public access to green spaces, and so on. Often the policies which are pursued in the name of promoting economic growth can undermine these other important aspects of civilization. Perhaps GDP should be relegated to a more minor position in a balanced scorecard of indicators, including social and ecological figures. Or perhaps we should just stop trying to turn everything into numbers, because they simplify complex realities in ways which just aren't helpful. Perhaps we need to find non-numerical ways of looking at our communities and society and world to better focus ourselves on governing these things better. Aren't there ecological limits to growth that we need to respect? Certainly with our current technologies, if we rely on burning fossil fuels, digging up metals and cutting down forests, then yes. If we can find more sustainable ways of living, then perhaps this can allow us at least some more growth. If growth means more and more buying and selling, then if we manage to get more and more sustainable, then can it be feasible to keep doing more and more buying and selling? Or is there an ultimate limit? We have to ask ourselves if we really want more and more buying and selling. Can't we just get to a point where everyone's got food, shelter, fulfilling activities to do, including the ones which produce the food and shelter, but also others just for the joy of it? But don't we want the developing world to catch up with our standard of living? Presumably yes. So that requires economic growth, doesn't it? But not just any old economic growth. We don't pursue growth for growth's sake. We pursue development for the sake of human well-being, or should be. Sure, this will show up as, amongst many other things, higher GDP for developing countries. But it's the human development figures, child mortality, etc., that you pursue, not the GDP figure itself. Obviously, that's the figure that should be going down. A lot of the GDP growth that we've had in the rich countries has been achieved in part by exploiting people in poor countries, with the effect of enriching the rich countries while keeping the poor countries poor. inequitably distributed within the rich country, with most or all of the income growth accruing to the richest part of society within the rich country. So, the developing world needs growth, but it needs to be the right kind of growth. That is, A. Growth in incomes of the poor rather than primarily of the rich, and B. Ecologically sustainable. The economic activities of the rich world are already unsustainable. The dangers of runaway climate change are getting more and more real. The Earth does not have the capacity for everyone to live as we live now. That's just a fact. In fact, it doesn't even have the capacity for us to live now as we are living now. That doesn't mean we can't all have electricity and manufactured goods and motorised transport. Rather, it means we need to make our industrial processes newly sustainable by replacing inefficient processes such as burning fossil fuels with newer sustainable technologies. In summary, blind pursuit of growth for growth's sake, without checking what kind of growth and growth for whom, is not helpful for civilization and is not the global panacea politicians and economists seem to be promising. Now, they would say that they recognise this and that their view is more nuanced than I've given them credit for, and that they are committed to sustainability. Well, not clearly enough, I say, but it's not primarily for them to build this new world, it's for us to do, all of us.